Give me just a second.
God damn it.
Yeah, this ain't working too swift, is it?
I can try it on mine if you want, Jim.
Is it working now?
I see it.
No, all we're seeing is just your menu.
Oh, open Zoom meeting.
Is that better?
Nope.
Yeah, I see you now.
How's that?
Yeah.
PowerPoint's not there. We're just seeing that you're trying to get to the trainer.
Yeah, it looks like all you gotta do is open the PowerPoint.
Yeah, just click on it
You'll be
twice,
able
it
to
looks
see.
like.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's Jimmy doing that. I thought it was my computer.
I told you that like an hour ago.
It worked a while ago, didn't it, Wayne?
Yeah, it
There
did.
you are. I see you now.
Want me to try it on mine?
No, wait just a second. We're gonna try it one more time.
Oh, you got it now.
You got it.
Do I have it?
Just double click.
Eastern's online there. You can talk to him. He'll tell you how to do it.
Is it there?
No.
No, PowerPoint's not up.
Why is it clicking out when I go to the
Do you have like,
show?
are you using two
Jim, it might be
screens?
already open somewhere on your screen.
Do what?
Look at your
Maybe-
start menu. It should be down opened already somewhere.
How's that?
So see, if you can close out of this.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
I can see it.
Then
I
you,
don't either.
yeah. You're not using two screens, are you?
No. Now I've lost it, guys. Wayne, stick it up there.
You knew that was gonna happen, didn't you, Wayne?
I'm gonna shrink you guys down and do this.
There you
It
go.
would happen to me this morning.
Oh, boy.
Y'all see it now?
Yep,
All
let's
right,
see
let me
it.
scroll down.
Perfect.
You see it?
Hope nobody's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne's got it.
Is Wayne
Yeah,
doing
let
it?
Wayne do it. Jimmy.
You see it,
We'll wait
Jim?
on you. It'll be 2 hours later.
Yes, it, Rick.
Hey, you got a bad attitude.
All right.
Here you go. Wayne's got it.
Thank goodness.
We tried this earlier
Everybody
this
see
morning.
it?
It worked.
Yeah, it's section 4.
Four, yep.
Looks like what we had at the beginning.
All right, Jim, you want to talk about it and I'll just
Yeah,
click where you
we
want.
have, with the next slide, we have additional concerns, guys. And we've got to worry about to address the public, not only the workers and the worker exposure, indoor air. What about the outdoor air, the bulk, wipe, and impact materials? What is impact materials, Mike?
Where you at here? Okay, impact materials. Not
What
sure.
would that be?
Impacted materials. Materials that have that been PCB'd.
Yeah, it'd also be the building materials, when they tear them down and stuff, and the outdoor air. If they're gonna demo a building like the Twin Towers, the planes run into them.
Right.
What did that do to everybody in New York City? It contaminated everybody.
Contaminated everybody.
All right, Wayne. We've got all the handling and communication risks with the PCBs is important for legal liabilities, workers, and public protection. And Wayne, on this one, he's got a note down here at the bottom
Yeah,
that he's brought up fish on the one that I have from Vegas.
okay.
All started back when? When did it all kick out, guys? With the EPA?
79 or no?
1978.
Do you know why they started it? It's because the eagles was eating the fish.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
And do what?
You did say that before about the birds eating the fish. Got everybody pissed off.
Yeah, and it made the shells too hard and the chicks couldn't creep out and then they died and they dang near went extinct. Now they're like buzzards around here, so they're everywhere. They're a nuisance. Any question, thing, Wayne?
Yeah, well, same thing on that one there. If you look, this is just a little blurb from Pennsylvania, and it tells you that you're only allowed 1 meal per week, 1 meal per month, depending on where you're fishing. So, and even no consumption. So, like we say, if you guys could find anything to put into the instructor's box so it can make it more relevant to what we're teaching, it would be helpful.
All right. Why should we do blood sampling on guys, on our workers and employees?
Have to do
To control the level?
Do what, Taco?
To control the level in the blood?
We need to know a baseline basically before these guys start, just like with lead. If you don't know their baseline on how much PCBs they have in their system, you're not going to know if you're contaminating them or not on the job site.
Get it, yep.
Now, since there is no law with this, do what, Rick?
If it's a long-term job, do they do in between, it's like you do the lead, or you wait till the final on the PCB?
There's no standard for it.
That's it.
So with OSHA, the EPA just says if you find it, you've got to deal with it. And the only protection we have is through the EPA right now.
OSHA general duty clause. Are you allowed to take that and take it upon yourself to bring it somewhere and get it tested to find out if there is some?
Wayne?
I would think if you had concerns, you have the right to. It would be no different than going in your house and taking a sample off of a floor tile or whatever and saying you want to test it for asbestos.
Right. So that might be one way of getting it tested then. I mean, take it upon yourself if you really think there is something there.
What's the contractor going to do to you once you do that though, guys?
Fire. Laid off.
Make it trouble.
It's going to cause some major problems.
The same thing happened with lead though. I mean, nobody wanted to see any results from any lead test. They used to tell us, just put the air monitor on the beam when you go in, because they didn't want to know the results of the actual lead we were dealing with.
That's the truth. What do you think, Wayne?
Well, I think
We
that's
beat that
just,
whole-
you know,
Go ahead.
hopefully that's gone away a little bit, but I know it still happens. I know it happens in the new plants. Nobody wants to know how many REMs they're getting. They'll hide their dosimeters someplace. But for the most part, I think we just have to be good citizens, so to speak, and know that we're helping each other and helping take care of yourself.
Right.
And the only way we're going to stop that is with education, guys. We got to keep hammering these guys and make them aware of that stuff. What do you think, Wayne? Move on?
Yep.
Here's a big question, guys. Abatement versus mitigation. What is the difference?
I would think abatement is getting rid of it and mitigation might be encapsulation.
Anybody else? What do you think, Mike?
I agree. The abatement is cleaning it or removing it, and then mitigation is more, like you said, kind of concealing it,
Making it so
kind of
nobody
containing
gets
it a
it.
little bit more to limit the release.
If you look at the pictures, he's got PCB abatement involves removing the caulk, glazing or light ballast or materials that may absorb the PCBs. But then he's got on here, it's mitigation involves reducing human exposure by PCBs by limiting their release and accumulation in the indoor air and dust. If we find it, according to the EPA, you've got to take the stuff out, you got to get rid of it. You got to address it. How are we going to do that as bridge painters or industrial painters? How are we going to take this stuff off?
Like you do lead. You're either gonna have to hack it out or
Sandblast.
blast caulk.
Blast it out. Blasting.
What I'm getting to, guys, is the containment systems. Are you going to blast it with dry abrasive, or are you going to add water?
Water blast.
You do put the water in, what do we got to encompass in? You're going to have to put some type of dams around the bottom to keep the water from running off into the ground. So you're going to put tarps and stuff and dams up. And the big thing is the air movers and containments. What delegates what containment we use? It's SSPC Guide 6. It gives you a recommendation on what to use.
I would say,
Depending on the hazard, huh?
I would say it would have to be a sealed seams and 100%.
Yeah, it'll have to be a Class A containment, period.
Class 1A, yeah.
And then your dust collection. How much air are you going to have to move? It'll depend on if you're using dry or wet.
Yeah, that's the problem with using wet abrasives. It messes with the dust collection system.
And you add the water to it, then your dust collectors don't like it too much at all, do they?
No, they start clumping up in there.
Also on that same note, guys, this is where I think, somebody like Bernie, who is an industrial hygienist, that's where you have to put your faith into them, because they're going to write up a procedure for both personal protection and equipment.
That's what I was gonna say. How do you know the PPE if you don't have the standards yet? How do I know if the PPE that I'm using it's enough to protect me against the?
Okay, he brought up yesterday, this stuff is skin contact. So what is that telling you right there?
So cover up. Yeah, I'm saying that. What about the filters, the respirator? What about the filter that I'm wearing is enough to hold it's not going through?
Well, you're going to have to turn around and do some type of an assessment prior to starting. And through the first of the job, you're going to have to do assessments for a few days until you get some samples back, and you got to put them in a worst case scenario with it. Fresh air hoods, the whole 9 yards. Am I right, Wayne?
Yeah, and for the skin contact, Tiago, the regular Tyvek will not allow it to leach through.
I'm saying because we work in bridges, and I know it's lead there, but like you guys said, it's PCBs probably there too. So I just want to know that sometimes we don't wear nothing. Sometimes it's just the dust. We use the respirator, and how do I know if the respirator filters it's strong enough to hold the?
You can see the guy that's doing the abatement over there. He's got his filters on his back, so he's he's got a loose fitting hood on.
I think that's air supply, right?
Yeah, it's like a PAPR.
Yeah.
That would be
PAPR is what it is.
2,500 micrograms for that, or more, or less. I mean, so.
You're going to have a lot of questions given this class, ain't you?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to ask questions.
You know what? This might be a good thing for somebody to take down a couple of notes, and when Bernie comes back tomorrow, you could actually ask him what the actual process would be.
Right.
I think y'all gonna set this up, what you're doing for the PCB, and maybe become law, or for OSHA standard, EPA, whichever. We need to come up with a guideline. Like, I wouldn't wear a single Tyvek like the guy blacked, and I think I'd have to double it or wear a rain suit that was really heavy, so I know for sure it ain't gonna absorb or get a rip in my Tyvek. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, later on.
Lead, because it can't absorb through the skin. That's something we need to come up with a program. Right. I mean, that's something we need to put in a note.
Something you might do is wear a Tyvek's underneath coveralls so that you wouldn't have to worry about it ripping so much.
I would agree with that. He's actually got in his slides, guys.
It's a lot heavier and it won't lift.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it is. Long johns all the time.
Later on, guys, Dave, he has actually put in here that you don't want to use cloth coveralls. For the reason because you can't decontaminate them. You're gonna have to throw this stuff away.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
So you'd probably double up on the Tyvek, but what's that Tyvek's gonna do to you down here in the south? Right now, it's 100 degrees and humidity is 100%. You're gonna kill your guys.
Oh, it's not only that. Over here, we use the steel grade. So that's not gonna hold it. Gotta be something stronger.
You gotta use job rotation so that they don't get so much time in the heat. We use double Tyveks when we do asbestos now. I mean, with the wet blasting, it's pretty much the same way you do asbestos.
But when you do industrial, we sandblast it. And sandblast is a whole different story.
Oh yeah, with sandblasting. We did coal tar that has more than 1% asbestos in it. We blasted that off outside beams on bridges using a water ring and double Tyvek suits, plasticated the whole containment. I imagine you do it the same way.
Thinking of a ring.
Yeah, it was just a bigger, I guess it's a bigger containment that we use here.
Yeah.
We got 8 guys blasted at the same time.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, we don't have the answer right now, guys. So this is
Right,
something
right.
we probably ought to talk to Bernie on, because we could beat this horse to death and not have a right answer. So like I say, let's bring that one up tomorrow to Bernie.
okay.
Move on. All right. PCBs are absorbed through the skin and may be inhaled. Workers with potential PCB containment or containing materials should not be performed without the appropriate PPE. What's wrong with this picture, Mike?
He's not wearing.
I don't see no gloves on him.
Well, here's the other thing too, guys. How many, and myself included, I see caulking. I don't think of that being a hazard. My whole mindset's got to change now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Same with the window glazing.
Out of old caulking as being lead.
Asbestos. Both lead and asbestos.
You know, what are you going to do with the waste?
Well, that's the thing. You got to put it in like double bag or something like this, like again, like asbestos, right? Or no?
Milk polish.
Yeah, you're
You
gonna
know,
have to build
most-
your mini containments.
And then use the small air movers or use some type of vacuum attachments with it.
Right.
The big problem with it is most of this stuff ends up in just a regular industrial waste. And it goes to the landfills, and then we're still contaminating the people around through the country. Wayne,
Yep.
show the next one. What's that, guys? It's telling us that we can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And this here is actually from a school. What is it, Robert F. Herrick?
Yeah.
There's our Vanna White sitting there doing the deal, ain't it, Wayne?
What's that?
The picture on there, that's you.
Handsome looking guy, isn't it?
Yep, yep. You know, guys, this is similar to lead and asbestos removal. We have to use some type of HEPA vacuums with it. And to control the dust, we got to try that. We don't want to dry sweep. How are you going to clean it up? We're going to use vacuums. And then the PPE for workers is, we got to have that to protect everybody and themselves. Any comment, Wayne?
No, it's just basically follow the lead and asbestos rules. You know, everything's probably going to be double 6 mil poly.
Yep.
I'm sure you're gonna have to have the air movers running for 24/7.
The difference with this is lead and asbestos don't give off any gases.
Right, this does outgas though.
Yeah, that makes it.
What, how are you gonna control that area, guys?
I like what you're doing, lead.
Yeah, it's contamination to a lead. You gotta have a containment.
Double layer, like you were talking about with your air duct, pepperback.
Yeah, we gotta have some sort of signage for around the area, and plus the flagging to keep people out of it.
Oh, yeah. Signage, yeah, for sure.
I'm sure when I say
Wayne.
PCB, they'll run.
Has anybody ever seen a filter like this?
Yes,
Yep.
What's that for?
that's a pain in the.
It's actually a piggyback, ain't it?
Oh, yeah.
Got the P100 over a organic vapor cartridge. Because of the aerosols that the PCBs put off, or the gassing, this here would be an appropriate filter for the guys. Does that answer your question, Tiago?
Oh yes, definitely, yeah.
And if you don't know what the concentrations are, what are you going to put them in?
Full face.
Full face, fresh air hood?
Yep. If you don't know it all,
What is the general duty clause says? You gotta test, treat it as if it's 10 times the actual?
but they don't test.
You get the results back?
It's only if they do test, huh?
Correct.
And they're not gonna because they don't want to go through all that.
Then this kind of gives you an idea of what type of gloves for Tiago, knowing what kind of protection that we need. You notice that natural rubber or latex and rubber is not good for this. So the butyl rubber or neoprene are the best barriers for the PCBs. And that is per notch.
Right.
And believe it or not, that bulletin was put out in 1986. Any more comment, Wayne?
Nope.
You gonna do the next one? The PPE we wear should be selected by an industrial hygienist. And then it's gotta be managed under your employer's PPE program. So what's that telling you? The contractor has to make some sort of plan or SOPs for actual removing the PCBs. So what Rick said yesterday, or day before yesterday, that they'll actually probably stop the job and then have to reboot everything and actually come up with a plan and get somebody involved with it like Bernie. So we make sure that we actually protect our employees and the general public. Wayne?
No, just keep going.
How do we protect our family and yourself?
Clean your stuff off after you're done with it. Shower.
To give y'all kind of something that goes home, guys, I was working in Memphis, Tennessee back years ago, and I was bringing lead home while my wife was pregnant with my youngest daughter, and she ended up having seizures and autism with it. It's caused from the lead and epoxy poisoning. Wow. So it'll make you feel like an inch tall. So this stuff here, if you take it home, your family is going to be affected because it's going to be on your body unless we do some type of decons or make sure that we wear the appropriate PPE and turn around and actually shower and take care of that at the end.
You know, the one thing I've been stressing for the last 4 or 5 years with the apprentices, or actually longer than that, is don't take your stuff home, guys. Get in the habit of changing your stuff out. Leave it on the job site. I don't know what it is about painters and their work boots, and I still find myself guilty of it. I hate leaving my work boots behind for whatever reason. But, you know, it's just, you know, I keep stressing with the guys with lead. You take it home, you put it in your washer, that lead turns to paste, it sticks on the backside of your drum, and now all of a sudden, little Sally, little Jimmy, they're all getting lead poisoning, you know. So just don't take the stuff home. Leave it behind.
And I probably would not let your kids ride in your cars unless you keep it clean. Has any of y'all ever done any lead measuring inside the work vehicles that you have on the sites? Or has your company's done that?
Yeah, I've seen it done before.
Tell you what, it'll surprise you how much will accumulate inside in the seats. If you ever took your hand and slapped the seat in your pickup or your car in the sunlight and watch what happens, the dust comes up in the air because you can't get it all out. So you definitely need to protect yourselves. Any questions?
So it almost seems like you almost need to have a decon trailer, depending on the scope of the job, or set up some kind of a decon similar to lead and asbestos, just so you're not taking it home.
Well, you know, they make them little showers that they have now that you can, it's not that if it's feasible, you can put a shower up somewhere. How far do y'all have them on the bridges, Tiago?
Oh,
Away
that's
from the containments.
yeah, it's way, yeah, over here right now, like I'm over in the job site right now, and we have everything. Showers, we got decon trailer, everything. Far away from the containment. We take a break out of there, so we got a place there. Got to wash your hands before you eat, and far away from the containment. Take off your clothes before you eat. All of that.
So all contractors should be.
Right.
Well, you notice the little shower it's setting up here to the right on the right-hand picture. These things you can put up just about anywhere. Now, what's happening to the guy on the left there? What's he doing to his tools?
Cleaning them.
That's something that needs to be done daily. All right, Wayne. This is a hazardous waste site and heavy damage structures, contains risk of PCB exposure. This is actually in New Orleans in Jefferson Parish after Katrina. It tore up stuff everywhere. You remember this, Rick?
Yeah. Flooded, water for days, all kinds of stuff, oil, you name it, yeah, pesticide, you name it, it was in the water. I wouldn't have walked in there barefooted, I've been rubber boot.
Well, it's saying that super, don't change yet, Wayne.
Okay,
Go back.
you got
That
it.
Superfund site where it says, where they have all the waste right there, it's showing that it's 750 parts per million after they had that Superfund site there. That's something else, ain't it? That's quite a bit. Okay, do the next one. It's got a little more information on it. Transformers. Have y'all ever worked around power plants? Where the transformer yard is, it's always the gravel or the dirt looks nasty, don't it?
Well, yeah, it's clean.
We actually had a tornado come through in Little Rock and it picked one of those, it was 20 foot tall and 20 foot wide. Probably, I don't know how many pounds it weighed. It was a bunch, and it took it and picked it up and carried it about 100 feet and turned it over on its side, and it leaked out. It actually ripped a hole in the side just from a tornado. Could you imagine what a hurricane would do? Or an earthquake. They had an earthquake yesterday in Alaska. It was off the coast. It was 7.8. Could you imagine what it would do to the people around and the environment and all the animals and everything else if this stuff dumped out?
Didn't cause a tidal wave, did it?
I didn't hear one. The
Yeah.
picture on the right is from Katrina again in New Orleans. And just look at all the damage and the material that's laying on the ground. The caulking, the paint, and all the lights, the light fixtures and everything. It was through the years. And this here is down by the
French quarters.
French Quarter.
That Ray's house, I think it was almost up to the ceiling down in New Orleans where he was living. I don't know if you were here yet, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was here.
We went over there and did demo for him. Man, ain't no telling what we got.
Then all the people went to the Superdome, and then look what happened to it.
That's where the leverage broke, you know, so it flooded where he was at.
I wonder if it got Augie's mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, well, not mother-in-law, but Herbie and mother's house was right beside where it busted.
Yeah.
Where the leverage broke, they wiped the house out.
All right, Wayne. Additional concerns, guys. If you determine the caulk material contains PCBs or the paint, a site abatement plan should be developed to address the potential worker exposure and environmental and public health concerns. Have y'all ever been part of reading your SOP or your actual abatement plan from the company? Have they allowed you to do that? Mike?
No.
Never read that on the company?
Mm-mm.
I know Wayne's got something drooling in his head over that.
No, it's just that, you know, you have to follow it to the letter. I mean, it's got to go right back to your company. They got to have a respirator administrator. You got to send them out for medical surveillance. And then you got to make sure that all the initial plans are going to be followed, you know, as in lead and everything else. Your waste streams, different waste streams. All that's in your SOPs.
What about AHAs, guys?
What's that?
What?
Did you hear me, Dave?
No. What?
AHAs or JHAs,
Oh,
job hazard analysis forms. Do y'all fill them out in your areas?
yeah.
You know, it needs to be lined out what you're going to do on that AHA, and then everybody needs to sign it. So that way they're on the same page. Do y'all do them, Tiago, on your job?
I never done it, but I've seen it done it before, yes.
Well, that's something that needs to happen. It keeps your company in line and keeps your employees with what the company wants. And also the client that you're working for. Do what, Rick?
I said Southern Company does it every week. They have to sign off on it and go over it. All at one, everybody at one time and sign off on it.
And big thing about an AHA, if one step changes, you need to back up, regroup, and change that process so everybody's on the same page. That way it just ain't coming up in the blue that something else is changing.
Now, it's getting confusing here because you're saying that they don't have to test, but they know that this caulking might have PCBs in it. If they do test it, then they have to have all this stuff, but it sounds like they don't even want to test to see if there's anything there. No,
Well,
I mean, the job
They,
has
like I
analysis
said, we have a few entities up here in Massachusetts that are actually testing for it. So once they test for it, they get the industrial hygienist on site, and then they start writing a safety and SOPs and everything else in JHAs.
Yeah. Okay.
Same thing happened here with the power plants that they're demoing. The company that actually owns the powerhouses is having them demoed. That's happened 3 times and 2 downs from that too with the Corps of Engineers, and they actually test for it before they started the job.
Oh, yeah. Everybody should.
it's going to start coming out more and more each year as it goes. It'll be like lead. It'll take it a few years before it's been put into effect.
Yeah.
What do you think, Wayne?
Okay, yeah, I agree with you.
Those are nice.
Has anybody used any needle guns or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Turn that off for me.
Damn phone's going on. Sorry about that, guys.
Down peanuts.
What is that on the right? Has anybody ever seen one of them?
Yeah, really, when I seen them.
It's actually a caulking cutter.
Caulking cutter.
Yeah, the blade moves back and forth and oscillates, and it cuts the caulk out. What do they call them, Wayne? You can use them to cut wood and all different types of stuff. But you can notice
Yeah.
that they've
I
attached.
got two of them, but I couldn't tell you what they.
Sorry, Wayne.
No. But also you can see, guys, what type of vacuums are they using here, would you imagine?
Hopefully they're HEPA.
HEPA.
Correct.
I can't see it collecting everything out of that.
No, but this is just kind of a homemade attachment just to collect most of the dust. I mean, this isn't perfect
Oh,
by any means, but
okay.
they devised their own vacuum attachment for this.
Yeah. I mean, with that thing hacking away,
The one on the left looks like it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah, possibly so.
Yeah.
The one on the right side.
you know,
All right.
That's a grinder.
That's actually got a diamond cutter on a grinder, a side grinder, and then the other one's just a chisel. And we've all used needle guns, haven't we?
Yep.
With vacuum attachments for the lead.
Yep.
Sanders the same way. They got the brushes on them, and it keeps the dust particles from going out, and hopefully it protects a lot of it. What's the one on the left, guys?
That's a drill.
Hell of a drill.
Drill with dust cover.
Yeah, and there's the dust cover on the right-hand side for it.
don't look like that'd be heavy to hold.
Well, have you ever vacuum blasted? I know you have, Rick.
Yeah, but that machine there looks like it's way out.
If you've held on to a vacuum blaster all day, you know what it's going to do to you. Okay, additional concerns here are heat guns. What's temperature levels for lead, guys?
1100 or less.
Down.
What do you think his PCBs are going to do when you heat them?
Turning the vapor.
Do what, Easton?
Turning the vapors.
Right.
And then that's where we got the problems. The stuff will be ingested easier, won't it?
Yep.
I'm amazed they're allowing heat guns on it.
Yeah, well, it can take a lot of heat.
Yeah, what the boiling point's what, like 800 or something?
Well, you don't want to do it in excess of 1100 degrees.
Gotta be under.
Got to burn it off somehow if you're gonna do it.
You know, if you've been around iron workers, what do they do to the coatings that's on the steel? They'll take the torch and the rosebud and burn it off.
No
Had
problem.
that problem a few years ago. They wouldn't believe me.
You still see it today.
Yeah, my cousin come over to my shop. I had some 400-pound hunks of lead, and he was taking a torch and melting it off into a valve cover for a 350 Chevrolet to make him some weight for his stock cars. He come out holding his head and said, "Man, my head's hurting."
20 years off your life.
Damn.
You know, and what's that telling you right there? The general public don't have a clue, do they?
No.
No.
And if they're doing this home stuff, repairs and modernizing their house, and they go in and start stripping all this stuff, what are they doing to their kids?
Timing.
What do you think, Wayne? What's this, guys?
Treatment plant,
Do what?
Treatment plant,
water
What
treatment.
are we
plant.
dealing with the treatment plant?
filtering that out.
What kind of coatings are usually on them concrete tanks?
Coal tar. Something like that.
Aerator.
Yeah, and it's caulked in joints on the concrete, and they've used caulk to fill in holes. It's eat out through the years. You know, we only have to worry about the PCBs, but we got to worry about the ball stuff, the lead, and as Dave said earlier, the asbestos on the old bitumastic that we used to have.
Also, one thing we haven't really talked about a lot, Jim, is how far it migrates into the concrete. And you have to do core samples to how many inches?
Wow.
It's 2 inches deep.
Oh, 2 inches.
You got to drill in 2 inches to get a sample.
No. Okay.
And then they've got to be every 3 foot.
So you got a lot of destructive testing that goes on with this.
So
You're dealing with
all
concrete.
that concrete has to be chipped out of there too?
Do what, Dave?
Yeah, the concrete would have to be removed also then?
Because it migrates like it does, because it's an oily substance, it'll actually migrate back into the concrete and contaminate it worse than what the coating is.
So yeah, you may have to remove all of that concrete down to a point where you can't find any more substance and recoat or shotcrete or whatever they'll allow you to do over it.
Right.
What did that just do to the contract, guys?
Make it expensive.
It definitely will be. And this here would be a question for Bernie. Can we leave it there and then turn around and actually coat over it and encapsulate it? If you read what the EPA puts out, you have to remove it once you find it. So that'll be a Bernie question we need to ask tomorrow.
Well, the
I
residual,
thought if you didn't disturb it, you could encapsulate it, like the paint that goes up to 20 years. I can't think of the name of it. But you
they
can
say
buy
the
it
residual
encapsulated.
coating,
That's for lead.
Yeah, I don't know if there's
And I'm
anything
just thinking that might be the same way you do the PCB.
Do it again,
Well, I don't know
Wayne.
if there is, Rick, for the simple reason, if it can migrate through concrete, what's it gonna do to a coating? It's gonna leach through.
Yeah, eventually, but I'm just saying if they didn't disturb it and you encapsulate it, what I'm talking about, the paint that they have, that you don't see it on the shelf, you gotta order it, right? But it will hold up the lead up for 20 years.
Yeah, but that's lead. That ain't PCBs.
Well, I'm just wondering if it would do the same thing, encapsulate it for a while. If they can't afford to get it out.
I don't think there's enough testing done yet to actually use that stuff.
Like
And through the
caulk,
EPA
you know.
that me and Wayne has found, they tell you have to take it off. Isn't that right, Wayne?
That's what they've been telling us, yes.
I'm just saying, let's just say you got caulk, you can't afford it, say it's for school. They can't afford to take it out. But it's paintable. I would think that would be the smart thing to do than do nothing.
Well, the problem is I don't think with the EPA does it matter if it costs too much and they can't afford it. They just mandate that they have to take it off.
they said somewhere that the old caulk might not be compatible with the new stuff too, so it may not bond.
Or it might be a silicone base,
Yeah.
that, not paintable, but that's a question we need to ask. I mean, what do you do, shut the school down? That's what I was talking about earlier, why we gotta come up with something. What do you do? Why you evaluating it? Say it's $10 million and they don't have but $1 million. What do you do? $1 million worth or what? Shut the whole school down? And I'm just using that as an example. How would that work?
Go to the next slide, Wayne, right
You're on
there.
it right now.
Guys, this building was built in 1863. It's founded and opened in 1867. It's 310 acres and had 56 students. 2,400 students and 343 buildings are on 1,450 square acres. This is actually a school.
Yeah, this was at UMass Amherst.
And $500 million budgeted for the new buildings and the major renovations, and $100 million in deferred maintenance. 9.5 million square feet of 35 years of old space, badly in need of new windows, curtain walls, and weatherproofing. Ah, dang it.
So what they found on this also building, guys, is once they checked and they found the PCBs, it said that it caused an additional $2 million on a $4 million job based on PCB abatement. And that does not include any soil remediation that has to be done. So went from a $4 million job to a $6 million job just because they found PCBs.
6+ with the soil.
Where's that
Correct.
at?
In UMass.
Massachusetts.
Huh?
You know what, really, should we even bring this up, Wayne, about the other craft doing our work?
Labor.
Yeah. Go right
Yeah,
ahead.
in Wayne's area up there, they actually had a contractor come out on the bridge, and laborers turned around and actually took the blasting away from us, and actually done the blasting on the bridge because they're the only ones that had a program that could actually said that they could take care of the PCBs. And I'll let Wayne go from there on how the process worked.
Yeah, so basically they did everything that we've done. They built the class 1 containments. They placarded everything, kept everybody out. But when I was talking to the guys that were familiar with the job, he said it was not, when it came to the storage, they didn't have a clue what they were doing with it. They used bobcats, cleaned up all the excess stuff, put it on tarps, rolled the tarps up, and then put them into a bulk container. So that's really what got the ball rolling on my end to try to get this thing up and running so we could prove that we're the ones that have the actual training, because they went through a 4-hour awareness course. And that satisfied the contractor to say that they were qualified to remove the PCBs.
It's killing them.
That makes sense, guys.
No.
Yeah.
Next one, Wayne.
Got it.
What's this, guys? Precast. What goes in between the precast buildings?
Oh,
They usually use some type of backing rod, and then they put caulking in them joints to cover it up to protect it from the weather. The building that we have in Little Rock is all precast like this, and it's falling out on the ground. It's built in 1970. So what are we going to do about that? Are you just going to caulk over the top of it, or is this something that needs to come out? And then Dave's side, is that new caulking going to stick to this?
And take it out.
You got to.
Take it out.
Unless they got some kind of a tie coat like they do with paints or something that you could put on it to make them both compatible, you know. You got to remove it.
So guys, in our trainer notes, you know where it says samples range from 1.4 to 7.4%, and the threshold is 50 parts per million. In our notes, 1% equals 10,000 parts per million.
Wow.
1.4 equals 14,000 parts per million, and 7.4 is 74,000 parts per million. Slightly over the threshold, wouldn't you think?
And this is a picture of that building that we seen prior to there. The actual levels range from 14,000 parts per million to 74,000 parts per million. What do you think that's done to the ground and the soil around it?
Contaminated it.
Oh, it contaminated everything, didn't it?
Say nothing about all the public that walks by and just touches the building, rubs their hand across that caulking as they're walking.
Mm-hmm.
This is the University of Rhode Island in 2000. The PCBs in the soil from the caulk was 600 times the above EPA limit, above the EPA limit. It went from one year and $3 million to mitigate the soil cleanup. That's pretty bad, ain't it?
I guess what we're trying to say here is you're sending your kids off to college, don't send them to any school in New England.
Are we gonna do these case studies for them, Wayne, or are we just gonna go through them and talk about it?
Well, I think might as well keep going. We got a little bit of time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time.
Yeah,
Well, the next one is actually the summary.
Yeah,
So click on it. Go ahead, Wayne.
well, I was just thinking, so I guess we're supposed to be talking about, what do you think about the old buildings? I mean, a lot of this stuff, like we say, until it gets tested for, is just a silent killer, so to speak, right? Nobody seems to know what's there.
They know it's there and just don't want to admit that it is.
Yeah, I think an awful lot of places in your older buildings know that they have it there, but you're right, they don't want to test for it because of the expense. Where'd you go, Jim?
Yeah, more than £1 billion, guys, before it was banned. That's a lot of material, ain't it? And if you'll go down at the bottom of that, it says many agencies have regulations managing PCBs, although there is no requirements to test for them in building materials. You know, how many buildings are they demoing nowadays?
Over.
In North Little Rock, they just went through and got 10,000 homes, pushed them to the ground. Guess where they put it? Right there in a big pile and burned it. So what do you think that did to the soil around North Little Rock?
Ruined it.
And guess what? Where they burned this stuff, they built a brand new school and then turned around and put in new condominiums and stuff right on the river. The river being involved, the kids, and then all the new families that's moved in. Any comments?
Yeah, we need to get some people in the offices where they're dumping this stuff that knows about it. That's concerned about it rather than just letting it happen like that.
Yeah, well, you know, our biggest problem right now is who makes the laws that OSHA enforces?
Government.
Yeah.
It's Congress. And until we get Congress to vote on this and actually get it put into law, we're going to be kind of have our hands tied unless we take care of it ourselves. And how are we going to do this?
Bobby.
Educating people.
Proactive.
Mike, I know you got something going through your head.
All right, what was the question? Try to get Congress to help pass OSHA rules? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, who makes the OSHA rules?
Well, we have, like you said before, it has to come through Congress to get through. So if we as people in the field, man, we get together and we make complaints or go to safety or something, you know, we can get things pushed, lobby it.
You know, we do have lobbyists that works for the IU,
Right.
And Wayne and myself has contacted them, and through Dan Pinsky Jr. when he was still there, it's all in the process. But how long does it usually take for something to become law?
Usually, it probably takes a good amount of time, you know?
Well,
how
take
long-
lead, for instance. There still isn't an industrial lead program approved. It's just all residential.
Mm-hmm.
Next
But-
page. All right, guys, this is a knowledge check. And if you'll notice, all of them's been answered. We'll try to go through these.
Have fun.
You better get 100.
Me and Bernie talked yesterday, and he does not want to actually give a test for this awareness course. It's an 8-hour course if you're doing it in person. This would be something for talking points and discussions. So the term PCB refers to what? And it says polychlorinated biphenyls. And who's going to know what that is? So that's where you break out that wiser.com with your students and have them look it up and find out what the pill is or the real. And we go from there. Any questions, Wayne?
No, except for, remember, you're probably not going to find it under PCBs. I can't remember what it said it was under, but it was another
You got to use that,
chemical name.
yeah. PCBs have a bitter taste and a very pungent smell. What do y'all think that is?
That's false.
That's false.
Yeah.
PCBs are colorless to lightly colored, viscous liquid, mild hydrocarbon odor, or they could be colorless to a pale yellow, viscous liquid, or a solid with that same smell. That went up in the thing last night.
Yep.
And you look at this, the EPA estimates that the cleaning PCBs from the contaminated buildings in 50 states would cost $150 to $200 billion.
Yeah.
I bet that wouldn't touch a third of it if you start putting in the soil and everything else.
Didn't even notice.
Surely somebody's got a comment about that.
Yeah, that number would go up.
Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't put it in. I don't think.
Do what, Rick? You're
I
mumbling.
don't think that's not even close. I think it'd be about 10 times more than that.
Wayne, didn't we, that study for the schools, it was on the East Coast?
Yeah.
You remember what that said off the
I
top of
can't
your head?
remember off
I
the top
don't
of my head,
remember.
Jim, but it was an exorbitant amount of money. But, you know, just looking at this, guys, just popped into my head is, why do you think we're selling off all our scrap steel to third world countries?
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it all because it's probably PCBs, lead, and everything else in it, and they don't have any EPA laws. They're just smelting it and selling it back to us.
Cheaper and get it back.
Yep.
And I can tell you too, guys, right now, if you work overseas or you actually get parts built from overseas, it will be coated in lead-based paint and probably the PCBs on top of that. A lot of things that's coming in for the hydroelectric dams comes from Japan and China. And the companies, instead of building the stuff themselves, they're farming it out and letting them build to their specifications, and it comes in, and then companies are having to actually go back and lead abate the parts and the pieces of equipment before they actually install it and recoat it. So it's making our companies more money.
They didn't do that at steel mill.
What year did the EPA ban it?
1979.
What instituted that, guys? This is a question that it needs to bring into your head. It's because of the Eagles.
Right.
That was too hard.
All right, number 5, 60% of the PCBs were used for what fluids?
Or no. Dielectric,
Transformer oil.
yeah.
And believe it or not, guys, when I was growing up, my dad had barrels of this stuff laying around. We used it for hydraulic fluid and everything else in the tractors.
That's what's wrong with you, Jimmy.
Yep, that's what's wrong with me. Burned a bunch of cows with it too. All right, which of the following household products contain PCBs?
Paint, clothing,
Pesticide, all the above.
Is there anything else that y'all can think of you could give them an example of when you're teaching this?
Canned goods,
So,
What else?
fish. Oh, household product.
food, salmon, tuna, vegetables, chicken breast, pancakes.
that's a good one.
Pancakes.
Spray paint.
Pancakes. That's Bernie's favorite thing, ain't it? Pancakes.
Upset about it.
All right, currently, testing caulk for PCBs is required by law.
Do not have to test.
And then, how are we gonna get it tested?
Right?
What process are you gonna use to get it tested?
Hygienic.
Go through the chain of command from your safety person to the, until you get to a point where you have to go to the HAL or the OSHA.
Or you can also do bulk sampling or air sampling, don't forget too.
EPA.
How can exposure to PCB occur? And how does it get into your system? What kind of routes does it go?
Inhalation, ingestion, absorption, injection.
Yep.
The above.
But which was the most common way?
Depends on whether it's a worker or the public, I would think.
Okay, go with the worker.
Inhalation.
You got it.
Yeah, inhaling it.
Yep.
Which of the following agencies does not regulate the use or disposal of PCBs?
Hey, that's
FTI.
Does not regulate the use.
get lucky every now and then.
But once again, guys, here we are.
Not right.
There's just not one agency that regulates it, but the EPA is taking the lead.
Right, yeah, with that 40 CFR 761.
Correct.
I don't remember if I said this, but I done 2 presentations in Little Rock with this same PowerPoint for the head EPA person in this area. And we done it at the OSHA office in Little Rock. And when it was all said and done, the EPA was just tickled to death. But OSHA kept asking me, what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
Until it becomes law, guys, they have nothing to do with it other than the general duty clause.
Right.
All right, Wayne. In 1976, Congress enacted the what? And it's the TCA, the Toxic Substance Control Act. So what's that telling you? If you test it, something's got to be done because it is a toxic substance, ain't it?
Yeah.
OSHA does have a PEL for it. So if it's tested, then are you covered by OSHA then?
Should be.
Uh-oh.
There's where the general duty clause should kick in. I mean, if it's tested and it's find out that it's 1% or
Shut my computer off.
or 49%, it should be OSHA covered.
Believe it or not, guys, my mom just heated up a cup of coffee in the microwave and it shut my computer down for a minute.
You there, Jim?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Non-liquid PCB material must be blank when removed from service for disposal. And it, as it says you got to manage the bulk product waste. And as y'all seen the last 3 days, there's only 3 or 4 places that'll actually accept this stuff.
I thought it was like 6 or 8 of them.
So
I read on
once
them,
again, this is
I
also
Googled
just
it.
bringing to your attention that you have to manage your waste streams, whether it's liquid or bulk.
couple of them got blue up. I wrote it down. Hang on.
You got one right there, Rick, in Anniston.
Yeah,
Anniston,
no,
Alabama,
it's,
that's where it
Carroll.
initiated at. And there's one in West Texas, 2 in out
Carroll
west.
City. I wrote it down.
All right. When PCBs are taken out of service, they must properly dispose of or decontaminated within how long?
1 year.
That's through the EPA.
Right.
Wayne?
What? You want to move to the next one?
Yeah, we're there.
All right.
At 200, or at greater than 50 parts per million, the EPA requires materials to be properly disposed of as hazardous waste.
True.
So greater than 50 parts per million. How much is that, guys? Very little, isn't it?
Yeah.
05, is that right?
50 micrograms.
Do what, Dave? I couldn't hear you.
So it's like, well, not quite. That always got me too, how you can go from parts per million to micrograms, but Ernie says there's a way you can take the molecular weight to do it.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't have that actual book with us, but that is not very much. Has any of y'all ever used a pot and soil for your lead classes, your C3s and stuff? And the little white deals that's in the pot and soil, that's going to be more than 50 parts per million. When you think, Wayne?
Yes.
It's 4 drops in a 5-gallon drum.
Yep.
That ain't very much. Go to 14, Wayne.
You got it.
The US DOT requires hazardous labeling and placards for PCB material under what class?
That's 9.
It's class 9. And that's part of your global harmonized system that we do. And we need to remember that, especially for the jobs. What type of vacuum should be used to control exposures to dust and airborne contaminants? We all know that. But your students might not. So do you need to explain HEPA? What is HEPA?
99.97% efficient.
Yeah, the high efficiency particulate accumulator. All right, do the next one, Wayne. Any questions, guys? Comments? Wayne, I know you got something to say.
Well, it's just like Cuddy started off with, tomorrow, guys, when we all get together, we're just going to use it for a BS section, not a BS, but, just to shoot around. What'd you like? What needs to be changed? What needs more emphasis? How do we get people into the seats? Because, I know Jim and I are pretty passionate on this, and Bernie is too. I mean, if we don't push this, the other trades are just going to take it away from us. And like I said, there was the one job in particular up here in Massachusetts. The laborers have now been on site for 4 years doing the mitigation of the PCBs, and the painters are coming back and painting. So we could have probably doubled our man hours if we had it all.
With this
Get
COVID
Jimmy over
stuff.
here- Get
Do I,
Jimmy over
Rick?
here to the EPA in Tuscaloosa. That's where the EPA is for the state of Alabama. Show them the presentation that we got. It might.
Let me suggest something to all you guys. I know Dave's from up at DC4, and Mike, where are you at now? Still down in Florida?
Yeah, local 1010, 78.
You guys need to go and talk to your local EPA or pollution control and ecology, whatever it's called in your areas. And if you want to do a presentation or something, get a hold of Wayne, myself, or Barney. We would happily come down and help you guys.
Okay, it's good. Thank you.
And I've got one in St. Louis, looking like it might be next month, through Kevin up there, through the central region at the old DC2 training center. Hopefully that'll happen. It all depends on what the COVID's doing. Wayne?
No. So the other thing too is I haven't done it yet, but I got to get together with Jim and the IU. We got to reintroduce ourselves to Senator Markey from Massachusetts, because he's already had this out there. He's written a paper on it. It's been published, and he's very, very interested in what we have developed. And hopefully we can get the ball rolling there on the federal level and we'll be in the driver's seat, because as Bernie alluded to, we're the only unionized trade that is actually coming up with a worker course. So hopefully we can capture this market.
Another thing, I'd like maybe the FTI come out with a flyer that we could probably use, a little handout, a little,
I
information on
think
it.
Barney has one, Rick.
Oh, he does? Cool.
Didn't he make a flyer, Wayne?
I'm not sure, Jim. I don't want to speak for him, but I know it has been in the conversations.
Yes.
That'd be good to hand out when you go see somebody that they can hold on to.
Especially
Like
in the
you
older
today.
buildings, in the older structures.
Yeah.
Another thing too, guys, this class does not mean that these employees that we have can actually go out and abate this stuff. This is just getting them knowledge to actually take care of, to understand what the problem is with the hazards that's associated with the PCBs. And so we need to definitely bring that up. And then we've got a workers course that's already been done. Supposedly, Barney has that ready. We need to try to get it set up to where we can do it too, but that will be a hands-on. You cannot do it on this Zoom, because it'll be a lot of stuff that you'll actually have to do physically with the class.
Do we have equipment like we used to for the lead, doing a class that the FTI would send around?
We're working on that. We have an equipment list, but I don't mean to blame everything on COVID, but everything got put on the back burner. But there is conversations of getting a box put together and being able to send it around.
I know we used to have something like the lead, and we used it a couple of times. Got it shipped in to New Orleans.
I was actually talking to the contract on this job that I'm working right now, and he said he was bidding for a job, and the owner of the job said that the job had a PCB on it. So he actually walked out of the bidding because he said he didn't know how to deal with that.
Wow. That's, if you can get that information on what job it is, maybe we can help him feel a little more secure about pursuing it.
So he said it was a couple of years back. So
Yeah. Okay.
I mean that means that there's job around, and they're looking for contractors that know how to work with that.
Yeah. Our contractors Tiago, in my opinion, our contractors do it every day. It's just that it's never been tested for.
Right. So I guess on this job that he's talking about was tested, and I guess they would have asked him for some kind of proof that they know how to work with that.
Right.
Well,
And
we
that's why the
have
labor
ability-
secured the job up there in Massachusetts, is because they could prove that they had a 4-hour awareness course.
Yeah. Wow.
And we have it now, so we can do our own work.
Definitely, yeah. But I understand what the labor did. If you have nothing and somebody show up with 4 hours worth of class, I guess you got something, right?
Correct.
Hey, they were at the SSPC advertising, painting for the calf. Well, you were there, Wayne and Jimmy, myself.
Yeah.
They're actually doing all of it. And they also took in, trained the painter. I hate to even bring this up, but they did that, but that's their own choice. We just have to take care of our own. Make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do, and it'll make us more valuable to these clients. All right, Wayne, anything
All right,
else?
guys. I guess that's it. If nobody has any more comments, we'll just meet again tomorrow.
All right.
So,
Yep.
thank you for your time.
I have some M&Ms
Bring your
tomorrow.
question hats. Nicole?
Cool. Manisha, anybody got anything there, or are we done?
We're good.
No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah, make sure that you bring your questions tomorrow. This will kind of help us. We'll walk you through how you can conduct this class via distance rather than in person based on COVID-19 right now. So make sure you bring your questions for that. I'm sure you guys are already working on that locally, as well as keep in mind, we will give you credit for taking this course. So that means that there is a survey in the LMS, and we'll publish all that information tomorrow in the chat. And once the class is over, we just want you guys to go in and take the survey. We modified it to reflect like a distance learning that we're doing here. So it's not your typical in-classroom survey. That's it. I don't know if Monisha has anything additional, but that's just what I had.
Nope, I was just gonna add on if you guys need any help getting access to the survey. I'm here to assist. That's about it.
All right.
How many of y'all have Zoom?
Yeah, do we have like
For your
a
apprenticeship?
Zoom account, or does each local have to set their own up?
Each local would set it up. So if you can get a free Zoom account, or if your local already has one, you can just piggyback on that account.
Okay.
So the free one, you can do like up to 100 people, but it's only good for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you can just make a new one each time, but it's a pain.
Yeah.
Now,
When you got people
me and
like Jimmy and
Augie,
Rick getting on.
Easton, me and Augie's actually gonna buy one each.
I want to
That
say
way we
Chip.
have
I
one
want to say
little
Chip
rocket.
already has a paid account,
He got one, shipped up.
so
And
we
you
can
guys
steal
could
his.
piggyback on that. Just talk to Chuck. Like if he's not going to be using it while you guys are conducting training, then there you go.
Yeah, I'm sure he
Has to
won't have
share
a problem with that.
Yeah, he just has to share his username and password with you guys. But it would be a good idea to have one specific for training, just so you don't run into kicking each other off.
Yeah.
Nicole, do you have a phone number?
Rick, are you asking me for my phone number?
Yeah. Not your cell number. I don't want to get in trouble.
No, it's my work
Okay.
number. So it's 443
Uh-huh,
255
okay,
4081.
4081. Appreciate it.
Let me ask you a question on this here. On the LMS, once we get through this class, the FTI 1145 PCB Awareness, I'm trying to download these activities and stuff, and they won't pop up on my computer. When we're done with this, to open up on Go, will that be, all that's gonna pop up on there?
I can forward you all that stuff if you need it.
Yeah, it depends on where you are, Mike. It's hard to tell without looking at your screen, but you could just download it in the course materials for the course. Is that kind of where you are? Like
Yeah, I'm hitting on it and I keep downloading it, and then the screen, there's nothing on the screen.
it might just be a slow download, or if you're doing that PowerPoint, that sucker's big and it's gonna take a minute. So
Yeah, no, I've done it a few times today. The awareness presentation, I was trying to look at it on there, but I've got a lot of storms here in Orlando. It's pretty heavy over here, so maybe it's the
Probably
storm.
have 100 of them in your downloads folder. Right?
yeah,
Should I get rid? No, that's exactly what's going on. But when I pop them up, nothing comes on. So maybe tomorrow we'll see. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
okay, holler again.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys.
Yes,
See you tomorrow.
Later.
Have a good day, guys.
All right, everyone.
I'm gonna be late for my tee box. See you later, Wayne, Jimmy, everybody else.